Pull a dollar bill out of your wallet right now, not eventually, now. Because what you are holding is not a banknote, it is a document. A designed, deliberate argument made in symbols by a group of men who had just done something no group of men had successfully done before in modern history, and who understood that the object passing through every hand in the new country was the single piece of paper that would travel further and reach more people than any speech, any law, any monument they could ever build. Every element on this bill was chosen after debate. The Latin phrases were pulled from specific lines of specific poems by a man who had memorized classical literature the way other men memorized scripture. The number 13 appears on this bill 13 separate times, and every single instance was placed there on purpose. The symbol that has generated more conspiracy theories than almost any image in American history was added to the bill in 1935 by a president who had been staring at it in a book for 2 years, waiting for the right moment. You have folded this document into your wallet 10,000 times without reading it once. The image on the back left of the dollar bill is called the Great Seal of the United States, and it took the Continental Congress 6 years and 3 separate design committees to produce it. The first committee was appointed on July 4, 1776. The same day the Declaration was signed. The founders understood immediately that a new nation needed a symbol, and they wanted it decided before the ink on the Declaration was dry. Benjamin Franklin sat on that first committee. So did John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. 3 of the most intellectually formidable men in American history put together a proposal, and Congress rejected it. A second committee was appointed in 1780, rejected again. A third committee in 1782 produced designs that were handed to a Philadelphia lawyer named Charles Thomson, who was the Secretary of Congress. Thomson took elements from all 3 failed proposals and synthesized them into a single coherent design. Congress approved it on June 20, 1782, in a session that lasted approximately 20 minutes after 6 years of argument. Thomson never explained publicly why he chose each element. He left a brief description of the symbolism, but no record of his reasoning process. What he built became the official symbol of the United States of America, and it has appeared on every dollar bill printed since 1935, staring at several 100 million Americans who have never looked at it carefully enough to ask what it is saying. The left side of the seal shows an unfinished pyramid. Not a complete pyramid, an unfinished one. A pyramid with 13 layers of stone and a flat top where the final stone has not yet been placed. 13 layers for the 13 original colonies. This part most people know or can guess. But the unfinished top is the detail that gets ignored, and it is the more important symbol of the two. Thomson's description of the seal states that the pyramid signifies strength and permanence. The unfinished state signifies that the work of building the nation is never complete. The founders were not claiming they had finished something. They were declaring they had started something that would require every generation after them to keep building. The empty top of that pyramid is a standing instruction left in the official seal of the country. An architectural reminder pressed into every piece of currency in circulation that the structure is not done, and it is your generation's job to add the next layer. At the base of the pyramid in Roman numerals is 1776. 1776. The year does not appear as a date on the seal. It appears as a foundation, literally carved into the base of the structure as the stone the whole thing rests on. Above the pyramid are 2 Latin phrases that most Americans have glanced at and never translated. The phrase across the top is Annuit Coeptis. Charles Thomson pulled this from the Aeneid by the Roman poet Virgil. Book 9, line 625. In context, Virgil was writing a prayer asking Jupiter to favor a military undertaking. Thomson removed it from that context and transformed it into a statement of historical fact applied to the founding of America. He has favored our undertakings. Past tense, not a request. A declaration that whatever divine force governs the universe had already decided the American experiment was worth supporting. The phrase across the bottom is Novus Ordo Seclorum, also from Virgil, the 4th eclogue, written around 37 BC. Virgil was writing about a prophesied golden age he believed was coming to Rome. Thomson borrowed it and aimed it forward rather than backward. Not a golden age returning, a new order beginning. The founders were telling every person who would ever handle this seal that what they had created was not a variation on existing governments, but a categorical break from everything that had come before. 2 lines from a Roman poet writing 50 years before the birth of Christ, repurposed by an 18th century lawyer to describe a nation that would not exist for another 18 centuries. Both of them on every dollar bill in circulation, both of them unread by virtually everyone who handles them. Above the pyramid sits the eye inside the triangle, and this is the image that has generated more misreading than almost any symbol in American history. It is not a Masonic symbol. This needs to be stated clearly because the alternative has been repeated so often it has achieved the status of common knowledge despite being historically inaccurate. The Eye of Providence was a standard Christian iconographic symbol representing God's omniscience long before Freemasonry existed as an organization. It appeared in European religious art from the Renaissance onward. Churches used it. Cathedrals displayed it. By the time the Great Seal was being designed, it was one of the most widely recognized symbols of divine watchfulness in the Western world. Thompson placed it above the unfinished pyramid, specifically to complete the statement the pyramid was making. The pyramid says humanity is building something. The eye says the building is being watched over by a force larger than any individual doing the work. The two images together form a single idea: ambitious human construction operating under divine observation. The Freemason connection entered popular culture in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, when writers began noting that several founders were Freemasons and that Freemasonry also used the Eye of Providence in its own symbolism. The overlap in symbols was real. The conclusion that the Great Seal was therefore a Masonic document was not. Thompson was not a Freemason. The symbol predated Freemasonry by centuries. The connection that generations of conspiracy theorists built empires on was a coincidence of shared iconography between two different traditions that both drew from the same European Christian visual culture. The right side of the seal shows an eagle, and every element of the eagle's design carries specific meaning that Thompson documented explicitly. The eagle holds 13 arrows in its left talon. War, the capacity for violence in defense of the nation. 13 because 13 states would have to fight together to defend what they had built. In its right talon, the eagle holds an olive branch with 13 leaves and 13 olives. Peace, the preferred state. The reason the arrows exist is to protect the possibility of the olive branch. The eagle's head faces right, toward the olive branch, not toward the arrows. This orientation was chosen deliberately to signal that the natural posture of the American nation faces peace rather than war. The arrows exist in the left hand because the founders knew they were necessary. The head turns away from them because the founders believed necessity should never become preference. On the eagle's chest is a shield with 13 stripes and a blue horizontal bar across the top. The stripes represent the 13 states. The blue bar represents Congress binding the states into a unified whole. The shield has no white border separating it from the eagle's body. Thompson noted this specifically. The nation and its symbol of strength are not separate things. The shield is part of the eagle. The country is part of its defense. Above the eagle, 13 stars break through a cloud formation and arrange themselves into the shape of the Star of David. Not because of any connection to Judaism, because six-pointed star geometry is what 13 stars produce when arranged in the specific overlapping triangular pattern Thompson specified. The geometry drove the outcome. The outcome has been misread ever since. None of this appeared on the dollar bill until 1935. For the first 153 years of American history, the Great Seal existed as an official emblem used on documents and treaties and government correspondence. It was never on currency. The dollar bill in 1934 showed a portrait on the front and an ornate geometric pattern on the back with no seal imagery at all. Henry Wallace was Franklin Roosevelt's Secretary of Agriculture, and he was a man with an unusual range of intellectual interests, including esoteric philosophy, Eastern mysticism, and the symbolic traditions of the Western world. In 1934, Wallace was given a book of reproductions of historical American symbols, and came across the Great Seal's reverse side, which had never appeared on any printed material in wide circulation. Wallace brought it to Roosevelt and argued that the symbolism of the unfinished pyramid and the Novus Ordo Seclorum was appropriate for a nation in the middle of the New Deal, a country literally rebuilding itself, adding the next layer of stone to an unfinished structure. Roosevelt agreed immediately. He was a Freemason and found the imagery resonant for reasons both symbolic and political. The redesigned dollar bill went into circulation in 1935. No announcement accompanied it. No explanation was offered to the public about what the new imagery meant or where it came from. 300 million Americans began handling a bill that contained two Latin phrases from ancient Rome, a symbol from European Christian iconography. A pyramid referencing the original 13 states and a 4,000-year-old Roman numeral date, and the country simply absorbed it into ordinary life without reading any of it. You have been carrying this document since the first time someone handed you a dollar bill and told you it was worth something. What it has always been worth is more than the number printed on it. It is a two-sided argument about what America is. The front says here is a man we trust. The back says here is what we are building, and here is who we believe is watching while we build it. The pyramid is unfinished on purpose. That empty space at the top is not an oversight by Charles Thomson in 1782. It is the most honest thing on the bill. An admission pressed into the official symbol of the country that the work is incomplete, that the next layer has not been laid yet, that whoever is holding this piece of paper is part of a construction project that started in 1776 and has no scheduled completion date. Every dollar that has passed through your hands contained that instruction. You just never stopped long enough to read it.